Welcome back, everybody. Before we get into set 2, I want to let you know that I am once again asking you to log in to SemiFinals and participate in the Jade Corruption event. Do it. It'll be fun, and I'll appreciate it. Okay, moving on. We got Mifflin joining us still here on the desk. Miff, we're getting into set 2 now, and this is the team in Cold Llamas that I think that everyone is going to be expecting to really be the ones who bring home the finals this week. Let me read off these names and see if any one of you viewers remember any of these at home. emilitoo. Okay, I can stop now, but I don't have to because they've also got Genetics, StreakUp, iceice, and maniaKK. These guys are stacked from top to bottom.
I mean, I'd be shook going into just that side of the bracket, let alone just playing against them. I'm happy. You know, they qualified already. Maybe they've already made out with what they want.
Exactly. Maybe they're not really worried about it anymore. They're talking about other stuff, what they're going to eat for dinner tonight, all that kind of stuff, and you won't get them at your best because that's the hope, basically. Because if you get these 5 guys at their best, they're going to be very, very difficult to beat, and they're going to have to try and do it. And by they, of course, we're talking about Equinox, the team that Cold Llamas is facing off against. And they have some names that you may recognize as well, but certainly not that same level of star power. Zearoe is going to be playing ADC. Zearoe did play solo lane in the NA SML last year, coming over from EU servers. He just played across the pond, basically. But he's played in the SML before in Insignum. But he's playing ADC because Kana is their solo laner. And Kana saw some good success in the PS4 League last year.
Yeah, 4th place at Worlds of 4, as you stated to me earlier. But that is not to sneeze at. You know, you got to make it there.
They were the best team in their region.
They had a stacked region as well, Rapio and the boys.
Yep.
That's rival, by the way. I'll keep saying it like that.
But that was Xbox, and this is PS4.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, but hey, they were the best team in their region. They definitely improved a lot towards the back end of the year. And we'll see if Kana was able to learn enough to try and take on maniaKK. I'm sure this is going to be some of his toughest competition yet in that solo lane. maniaKK does not seem like the type of guy who's going to take it easy on you either. He wants to break you spiritually almost.
I would even venture to say if maniaKK took it easy on you, it's still not going to be easy.
True.
He's going to break you in half, not unlike Bane to Batman, just over the knee.
That's a spoiler. Anyways, Jingwei Odin banned away by the Cold Llamas. Persephone taken off the board already by Equinox. And if you're up against Cold Llamas, I mean, who do you try and ban out? I feel like the one big note is that StreakUp has moved from ADC, where he spent all of last year, where he was a standout all year, over to that mid lane now to make room for emilitoo in the long lane. So maybe you take StreakUp off some comfort gods?
If I am on the side of Equinox, yes, I'm trying to exploit the weakest chain link, right? And that is going to be StreakUp in this new role. But that's not to say he's a weak player.
No.
StreakUp is incredibly mechanically talented.
Beast.
However, if you have to focus someone, it's going to be him.
I think it's a wise strategy as Morrigan gets locked in. We saw that potent pick for Mr. Stefan in the last set. We'll see if either StreakUp or emilitoo can match that, depending on where that pick goes. But the Camazotz is an interesting one to give up because Camazotz can make Morrigan's life difficult. Getting hit by that Screech reveals you to Camazotz for like 15 seconds. That's a long time where you can track even stealth.
As well as the fact that the dot that he can apply with his second ability is going to make sure you can't stealth throughout that duration either. Hunbots is also a very good pick into Morrigan in that she is going to be looking to get into your backline, and the second he drops that huge AoE ultimate in Fear No Evil, she's going to have very little ins.
And that being said, those are 2 great transformations for the Morrigan as well, so it's not all bad for her. As Jorm and Achilles, the 2 picks in the first half of the draft to round it out for Cold Llamas. You'd expect that to be jungle Achilles, but can also be support. That was played for a little bit, though I don't know. Genetics likes to play a whole bunch of different things. Who knows if he's going to end up playing that. Is this Merlin pick I like quite a bit because in the case of this Morrigan was going over to emilitoo, Merlin is something that StreakUp played a ton of in the long lane last year, so you can take that away, but maniaKK still got one of his comfort picks in the Jorm.
I'm going to show my hand a little bit early. Llama's favored team. Also, this comp is nutty. Just getting the Morrigan with the Achilles, that's of 2 frontliners, right? Well, Morrigan, not a traditional frontliner, but she's going to be stealthing around, blowing someone up in the back. You know, she might not be in the front line, but that's where she's going to find her home.
It's going to be very easy for her to try and stun out those targets and set up for those executes pretty easily, depending on where that Achilles is going to go. Equinox thinks it's in the jungle for iceice, so they ban away the Terra and the Horus, a couple of support gods, and Cold Llamas do the same with the Xingqian and the Geb. Khepri still available, but not great against the execute, so Equinox is going to go with the Kumbhakarna. And there's another god that makes life difficult for the Morrigan. I think Equinox has done a pretty good job of picking around that first selection.
Yeah, I really do like that Kumbhakarna pick. Just anything that can set up the Morrigan for an easy death. Epic Uppercut is going to just put her in the air, and it's on anyone else, literally anyone, to just blow her up. We drop an Ice Storm from Merlin, Morrigan's going to have a really hard time. However, Daji, That's an easy dive for Daji onto the Merlin.
Yep.
Being able to chase down that flicker is very short range, and the self-peel's pretty low when Daji's just going to blow you up with one auto.
But I love this Chiron pick here for Equinox, getting that cleanse in response to the Palau ultimate. Now here's the problem, is that Llamas likely have 2 Palaus that you have to try and work in how to cleanse, and as long as they don't overlap those, it should be pretty tough to deal with. I'm loving Llama's comp, but it's just a matter of how well this Achilles support is going to go.
Equinox has the tools to deal with Llama's comp, but it's very high execution threshold. They're going to need to be performing at 100% the entire time.
And that's a tough task, especially up against the talent that Cold Llamas have. We'll see if Equinox is up to the task. Hinduman and Gormizer, let's bring us game 1.
Thanks so much, Ryan and Mifflin on the desk. Gormizer joining me again. Hey, Gore, we might get a game today.
Well, I mean, technically we had 3 yesterday.
Yeah.
And the use of technically is very
I know, that's what I was like.
deliberate
Well,
there.
yeah, you're right. Technically we did. Probably about, I mean, if you call it a game.
I will throw it out there, though. Here for Equinox, it's a tough game. And it's a tough 2 to 3, depending on where you go for it, because, I mean, maniaKK, iceice, StreakUp, Genetics, emilitoo. You could take 3 of those names, put it on a team at this level, and they should run the show, let alone having all 5 of them together.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the one surprise we had was that they didn't make it out of week 1. So they fell down into week 2, and now they've got to, well, battle against some other teams here. And obviously this one that Equinox has, they're not half bad, though. They're pretty well known as maniaKK, biting off a nice little bit of chunk of damage onto Connor there in the early game, and will fall back towards his blue.
That's the one thing about Camazotz. And I think it's going to be persistent throughout all of this, but he's survivable, and he, surprisingly enough, controls solo lane really well, even up against something like Yorm. It's probably going to shift as they get items online, as levels come online. You're going to see this Yorm get a lot tankier, but that's when you're going to start seeing Connor make these rotations over into mid or anywhere that he happens to find himself. Camazotz is
Big
good.
aggression as the level 2 comes through for Cold Llamas, and emilitoo and Genetics really putting the extra pressure on where they can. Purple buff was already taken at the beginning of the game, as now you see StreakUp and iceice combining towards this middle area.
I'm wondering how much emilitoo is going to be that aggressive and that consistent with it. I mean, one more auto there, he potentially has first blood on his hands. And that's the best thing about Anhur is it's enabled essentially from level 1 to, well, potentially level 2. He's going to find a good impale.
Love the cleanse idea from Zearoe there, just a little bit off the mark. That impale came through just before he detonated or even landed on the ground to give him the cleanse. I think he might have just been off anyway. There's a bit of an embed going on the backside from Equinox now as they will steal away those back harpies for the time being here. This is kind of what I expected to see, this duo lane being aggressive with Anhur Achilles. It's a very potent composition.
It's essentially the new wave form of the kill lane, right? It's not going to be the Anhur Ymir that ran the show like when Smite originally came out, but Anhur still does run the show in this lane, and then a warrior beside him. Kumbha can do some damage, but it's not enough to control the flow as much as it is to have a stun setup that you're going to have out of Genetics here, or once his ult is online, having the potential for an execute as well.
And Kumbha at this moment in time as well, just needs those extra levels to really come online to make him a bit more effective. Have a point in each of his abilities before the ultimate, which can make a bit more of an impact. But Zearoe here already had to use the beads a little bit earlier on, and this is why it's allowing Cold Llamas to keep the aggression going. Looks like Agent may start to come and pay some attention to this lane, but we'll see what he can do as this purple could be looked to be invaded. He's going to actually meet with Genetics and emilitoo in the jungle, and there's a blink out from Eragon. Leaps available for emilitoo though, and he's fine, but still the chase is on from Agent. With the monkey toss missing, that's going to be the relinquishment of pressure from Equinox, as Llamas will be fine.
I like the idea, and I like where Agent is at. He wants to come over, he wants to fight, he wants to help this lane find their feet again. Unfortunately, right now, it's not going that well for them. They do manage to continue this engagement, trying to poke him out. Agent is in the awkward spot of, well, I don't have my ult, I don't really have a lot of damage, so I can farm with you. You want a purple buff? I can help secure it, at least that.
Really nice pressure coming out from Cold Llamas, though. That was a 2v3 invade on the purple on that left-hand side.
And they still almost got it.
They nearly got it. I mean, but I like the idea, though. They realized the abilities on Cold, and that's just the experience of Cold Llamas really showing through there, of playing around ability usage, because some people don't really think about it. Mid lane, though, going to see a bit of pressure out of iceice here for the first time. At only level 4, though, it's going to be a bit trickier to really lock down onto the Merlin at this moment, because the one benefit that we're going to see out of the Dodgy is, well, she's got really good chase potential on this Merlin.
Yeah, being able to follow him up right after the blink, just teleporting essentially, well, not essentially, directly to him, and then lock him down, along with the fact that, well, maybe he happens to run away. If you have Palau up, you can pull him right back in. No matter what, you're going to have some sort of follow-up. So iceice much like Agent, kind of waiting for that level 5, and that's when we're going to start seeing these junglers become maybe the bigger spike. They're going to come through either on mid, maybe solo. I mean, if you're Agent, you probably do want to look more towards that duo lane, help somebody get ahead and find those kills.
And free idea in this mid lane, or Friday, I guess is what he's supposed to say, for Equinox here. Gonna have a tough time with this Merlin. I mean, we just spoke a little bit about the dodgy, and Ryan mentioned on the desk too. Well, you got a Morrigan up against you, and he can just be another dodgy if need be.
That's the worst case scenario. They were actually mentioning it. A lot of what Equinox picked up when you look at the Kumbha, you look at the Hunbats, you look at the Camazotz, help deal with Morrigan pretty well. Yeah. But Morrigan can also just say, cool, now I'm Hunbats, now I'm dodgy, now I have all of these ults that help me lock you down. And a gank becomes that more potent. So StreakUp, where his awareness is going to be and how he synergizes with his jungler, might just spell bad news for Friday.
Definitely a difference in builds here. If you watch the first set of the day, we saw these assy rushes coming out of the Hunters. This time not to be, as iceice going to take to the sky with the parallel. Will at least be able to pull in Eragon here, if Eragon so chooses to be pulled. But I think he used his ultimate instead. Left-hand side, though, Agent forced out by the Desert Fury of emilitoo, so close to death. But this purple buff could be an option now. Eragon's still hanging around, but he used his ultimate to escape the parallel. What's he going to do here?
Well, they don't have Agent to try and save the buff for him this time around, and you have iceice zoning out Friday, potentially even trying to find the fight with the rotation coming in from StreakUp.
Friday got to be careful here. No jump away or flicker available. So there's the ultimate coming out from StreakUp now. Use, transforms, and avoids the fear no evil. Can't find the shots from the chains, though, and Friday will be fine. Tell a lie, he did end up using the beads there at the tail end. Jenex has to get out of the fray. As iceice round the back, he's still trying to survive and keep the damage going on Eragon. All the while, Agent is healthy for a moment or two until StreakUp finds the kill, and Zero's rotation can't make an impact. Nobody dies on Llamas, and Llamas get 3 kills.
Zero's incredibly low on mana, too. It's that moment of, I'm safe enough, but do I want to go back in? Do I want to try to find the fight? I like the fact that he said no. maniaKK, he's so used to being this low in solo lane, like just over years of playing it, that I think he doesn't even sweat it anymore.
Honestly, that was really good experience from maniaKK there, because from my angle, I was like, I think Connor could probably get the kill on him if he's not careful. He does have his ultimate up, but I think the difference was Connor didn't have too much mana there. Otherwise, he could have definitely stopped this option, and he might still be able to do that. maniaKK may be forced to use his ultimate here sooner rather than later. Now, if he had his teleport up, he could also teleport away from this Camazotz at the moment. But how gone? There's a collapse coming through here onto maniaKK, and there's the ult 4. So we'll take a little look back at that first blood kill, and then the follow-up kills afterwards. Big chase from Cold Llamas into the jungles there, Go.
And it was just, again, reading the scenario perfectly, the way they did earlier around that purple buff of keeping track of the timers of the abilities, but who's low and who can come in? Well, we know Kumbha ult is down because of Powwow. We know Agent is low or out of the fight. If he comes back in, he's not going to have enough health, or he's in base. Either way, we can engage on this and fight a 2v4 with the rotations they had coming in. They just read the map really well. The communication, you can tell, is key between them. And it's where iceice is kind of hovering between mid and duo for a lot of these fights that have enabled them to get this aggressive, and, well, it's paying off.
Red buff invade, start up again by Genetics as he's about to spawn. iceice right behind him, waiting for the opportunity. Eragon going to show up on the scene, and Genetics doing good zone work at the moment, just waiting for someone to overextend a little bit too much. Is emilitoo. He's overextending at the moment, taking on Zero's, happy to do so. Into the sky goes iceice with the Paolo, though, looking for the ult, and they'll find it onto Agent, forcing out the beads, but it's Eragon that's wrapped onto by the 3-man pincer maneuver from every angle by Cold Llamas, and it gets them the 4th kill on the board. It does feel like Cold Llamas are, you know, they're the aggressors, and Equinox are trying to play reactionary here.
I mean, there's just so much aggression in their gods. Like, their entire draft just screams, we want to fight you. If iceice continues getting up there and using the Powwow, either he's burning your beads or he's burning you down, or in the case of Eragon, sometimes he's burning the ult, and that time decides not to use it, hold on to that, but ends up losing his life for it. And there's moments like that that are going to, I think, persist throughout this game. You have the potential for 2 Powwows to ever happen in a single fight. And so someone's going to connect as long as StreakUp is hitting the chains next time. It's just so much lockdown that allows them to play a little more loose.
And I think that's the one thing as well. Equinox obviously being on the back foot, reactionary. It means they're not being aggressive, and Cold Llamas, that's kind of playing into their hands here. They're used to players playing a little bit more defensive against them. But what they'll do is they'll just find that window even more so, right? Yeah. They'll keep the aggression going even more because they're not having to react to anything Equinox is trying to do in response. Instead, They're trying to pull them all around the map. So Cold Llamas at the moment quite comfortable with around a 2k gold lead already. And 4 of those kill involvement have been with Genetics and with StreakUp. As maniaKK brings 2 members over to this right-hand side once again. But look at the cutoff here. We've got a big rotation for him. They might find this kill on maniaKK. And can Cold Llamas answer back potentially? This is a big dive for him, actually.
Well, if he's got vision on them, you either have Morrigan coming over. Her and Daji are on this side of the map now, and with where Hunbatz is, they might be able to collapse. maniaKK might just be the best bait they have.
It really is, and actually he did a very good job at juking out. He will fall at the tail end here under the tower, but Eragon could go down in trade. Now the rotation's coming in. StreakUp transforms into the Daji and finds 1,
Good
jumps
call.
on the Paolo, and pulls 2 into the danger zone for iceice, baby! Double kill for StreakUp. Now it's time for iceice to take to the sky with his own, and he's trying to hold on, waiting for Connor to land. Connor lands, can he find the shot? Stun comes through from StreakUp, not this time round. Connor gets a kill to shut down the Morrigan.
He wants another, and he's going to be able to find that. It's a clean double kill for him, and that's the strength of Camazotz. That, alongside the fact that Friday, I think he made a beautiful call there to stay under the tower. He kind of had 2 options, die under tower, die to anybody on Cold Llamas that happens to be over there. Chose to go down to the Archer just to kind of avoid giving over some of that gold. And so far, I don't want to say clean for Equinox, but a good end to a good rotation.
Well, that was also the first time that they went aggressive. Hold that fort. Genetics getting chased down here. Zearoe does not have his ultimate. A great impale from emilitoo will peel even more so. But as I was saying about that solo lane fight, that was the first time Equinox did something independently, aggressively themselves. And they do end up finding 3 kills of it. Sure, it was a little bit over-aggressive. But at the same time, it opened the window for Cold Llamas on this left-hand side to find dividends too.
And it keeps Equinox in the conversation a little bit more because they've made some interesting decisions up to this point. Specifically, I'm looking at Friday.
Right.
I just, commend him for where he's been positioning it in kind of the fight. But he went for a Rada Tahuti right off the bat.
Yep.
That's a lot of gold to invest.
It is.
I like the item. I like 160 power. You can't really argue against that. But when you look at the other items that we've typically been seeing this early on, you usually want to look towards that. I mean, Doom Orb, actually on the other side, it's only 15 less power. And admittedly, one item's going to say, hey, now you're doing a lot more damage. But with Merlin, I just feel like there's a little bit more options for him.
Yeah, I mean, normally we see a Chronos pendant more than anything else for that
Yeah.
cooldown. It's so important to him. But Gold Fury started up. Oh, and Equinox will strip it away. Zearoe with that long-range ultimate, the final shot, good enough to keep his team in this game. And yeah, going back to that build, I do agree. I think actually Rada Tahuti is really potent right now. But I just don't think on Merlin because cooldowns are so important for him.
Not only cooldowns are important, but Rada Tahuti has always been and always kind of intended to be this luxury item at the end of your build. Like, you know what? I happen to have a spare 3,000 gold that I can drop on this. Not necessarily you're like, you know what? I need to start this game out with a bang. 3,000 gold up front.
That's fair. I mean, I will say, though, I do think Rada Tahuti might be a bit more attractive now. It's 160 power.
That's a lot of power.
That's a ton of power.
That's a lot of power.
But at the same time, it means Friday's got to be even more careful about when he chooses to use his abilities, his cooldowns. Otherwise, he's going to be attacked like this. Friday now getting hit by all the Paolaus. Beads are available, but they're not going to help him survive. And I like the idea of holding the beads there. See if that last shot hits for the damage and secures the kill anyway, which it does. And on top of that, Agent fell down 2. Into the jungle go Cold Llamas, keeping this aggression going, forcing Zearoe back. Who honestly, Zero's done a pretty good job of surviving in this lane and keeping pace with emilitoo with how little help he's been having on this left-hand side. maniaKK, though, in a bit of trouble here.
He's low health, low mana. Going to have his team to peel for him, though. iceice still kind of lurking in the waters to be able to come through and help. And right now, it's just peel is the name of the game. They're not even looking for the kills. It'd be nice. It's just icing on the cake as they find a tower. They get maniaKK out alive. I mean, everything on the map is going their way.
Yeah.
And they stop Connor from getting any bigger. He's just 3-0, but granted, he also has the weight of a 0-3, 0-3, 0-3 just below him there. So a lot of these kills not really coming up the way they want. All of them onto the Camazotz. If you're Merlin, like I am probably going to harp on this more than I need to, but if you get Rada Tahuti early, you need something going your way. And I kind of want to see him fight more, but there's just so many opportunities on the other side for Cold Llamas to just melt him down.
Definitely interested to see where he goes with this next item because he's going down the same route again. So maybe it's a Chronos Pendant now, which is a little bit later in the build. We'll find out as this one goes on. StreakUp in the mid lane, though. Going to get rooted out by Eragon for the time being. So far, so good for the Cold Llamas. However, the gold has kind of fallen back a little bit. It was 2K at one point in favor of Cold Llamas. Now it's kind of closed the gap a little bit more, so down to 1,400. But the experience is a completely different story.
Yeah, a lot of this is kind of trickling down the slowed effort, I think, from Cold Llamas. They aren't getting as aggressive anymore because now it's a lot easier to get punished for it, especially as we see like level 12s coming online, those second relics. Make it a lot easier to just say, cool, I'm going to beads this one, get out of this fight. You can't get this kill anymore. That's where their attention's going to start turning towards these objectives. They've already got 2 tier 1s. They got the first Fury. Or no, they lost the first Fury, which definitely helps Equinox stay in this game a little bit more. But now you're looking at potentially going for like Primal Furies, Oni Furies, helping you get that wave and push down the objectives on the map that are going to make the base breaking a lot easier.
maniaKK is just doing a good job of buying time and trying to draw in members, but now Connor low on mana, being a little bit pressured onto the wrong side of the map, and Genetics is over here too now, and it could spell doom for Connor, who's going to need his ultimate to potentially escape if he's not careful. But he's tanky enough at this stage because he's also got another new item in the game in his inventory, which a lot of people have been noticing is very effective on him at the moment. This option here with a Caduceus shield is the extra sustain that he's going to be able to give to himself, but not only himself, it's his team too.
And that's the biggest thing. Camazotz already has enough sustain for himself. Yes. I don't think you need to argue for more on him. But now being able to, say, rotate into a fight, keep Agent Friday, somebody else alive in that engagement, well, your team kind of needs it right now. You're down 8-3, so you definitely want something to sustain. Plus, he's going to get a little bit of prots from for everyone, keeping him alive in the fight a little bit longer. So far, Connor, in my eyes, is the one guy keeping them afloat in this. He's kind of the life raft around them while everyone else is trying to inflate it. Soon enough, they can actually save themselves, but it's going to depend very heavily on, well, big rotations like this one and any of the objectives coming up. I'm looking towards when Pyromancer comes through, the next Fury should be a big fight. And whoever wins that's going to have a pretty big advantage.
The big key as well, I'm noticing here, genetics is at level 12, equal to the enemy jungler at this point in time. A lot of that, he's also got a 3-level lead now over Eragon, who's been making more rotations. I think with all the pressure that we saw coming out from Equinox to the right-hand side, it opened up a window. Eragon caught between a rock and a hard place and a pillar, but will be managed to throw back away from the danger for now. And we also saw him use his ultimate a little bit earlier on against iceice Baby. Nice use out of that, but it didn't really come for much. Survival for now is all that Equinox is looking to do. Are you just trying to buy time as much as possible here, try and get a couple of items online?
Yeah.
Is there a point where you have to fight, you feel, to get back into this one?
Yes, and it's coming up soon. I think once you have Thieves online here for Kumba, as long as you get a strong second item, you can do something, but he ends up just kind of whiffing a little bit there. He's low health right now in the fight.
Eragon could be in trouble, will get pulled in, and that's going to be passive time for him. Zearoe on the backside, though, got zoned away by emilitoo, who rattled in the back and pinched. Now, in comes Agent with a Fear No Evil, but emilitoo's already on a double kill. Could be looking for a triple if he's lucky enough, thanks to the help of genetics, who'll get the blink and secure the kill himself. Focuses on emilitoo, and that should be a pickup easily enough for Connor, but where can Connor go now? He was the only one in his team doing okay, and actually has the blink up to escape back. It's him against 4 members of Cold Llamas at this Primal Fury here. It's going to be a tough task.
I mean, this is personified as Connor versus the world because he's the only one left, but this entire game feels like Connor versus the world. He rotates in, you're watching Agent not having effective ultimates, you're having Eragon get ticked into his passive really early, Friday not able to convert any of the items he's gotten into good damage for his team just yet. I mean, the only person sitting up at the top is Connor, and then it's all 5 members of Cold Llamas before you even get it. And there's a 2,000 gap between the Anhur and the Chiron. Barely doing double damage than the Kumbha right now is this Merlin. I want to see more from it. I just feel like they're not reading the fights well.
Yeah, he's always running is the reason we're not seeing Friday really get a chance to bring out any damage whatsoever here. And on top of that, Eragon just too far behind in experience. You can't even frontline at this point in time.
Yeah, true.
You got a level 17, you know, Hunter and mid laner. You walk up to one of them, you're probably going to pop pretty quick. Connor, though, a little bit far forward here, and there's 3 members of the Cold Llamas alongside. So it's time to take him on. Ultimate down for a few seconds, so they're really trying to invest a lot into him here. And with that power pulling him in, the execute will come through from genetics. But what can the rest of the team do? Well, at the moment, they should be able to find a kill on emilitoo. That's a good answer back, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's a pretty hefty target. Level 17 there, and probably one of your biggest proponents in these fights, someone who's been causing a lot of trouble for you. But the problem is it does, well, leave StreakUp alive, it leaves iceice alive, and they're still going to be very potent. Friday is going to be able to dodge that one out, but he had to use both his relics just to not get pulled by Palau there and not die to it either. That just means the fight, it's going to come to him. maybe a little bit later.
Really surprised by the holding the beads, because sometimes you beads early anyway, because it guarantees you can't get hit by a Paolo again anyway. So holding the, if you're going to use the Aegis, just use the Aegis alone and rely on the fact you're going to get pulled. I think the beads would have been the better option. He could have saved the Aegis there. Very questionable decision, unfortunately, from iFreiday in the mid lane there. 19 minutes in though, 13-5. Gold lead extends a little bit more so, approaching around 6,000 with how this one has gone. And really, I'm really struggling to try and find a window for Equinox to get back into this.
A lot of it, in my eyes, has to come to where they're throwing their ults and who they're focusing on. There's a 6-1-2 Morrigan, and your comp was kind of drafted to deal with Morrigan, and they aren't doing that.
Yeah.
That's going to be where my issue might take place. If I'm Agent here, even if I'm Connor, since he's the one who's getting all the kills, go in and focus StreakUp down, try to either burn his ult or burn him, and that opens you up. The problem is there's just such good peel from maniaKK, from Genetics, from iceice, even from emilitoo to an extent that it's difficult to get back there or around to this Morrigan.
I will say, as the game's gone on, the closest they had was Eragon blinking to the backline and forcing the beads on StreakUp.
Yep.
But there's StreakUp getting the kill off screen onto iFreiday, and now StreakUp has to beads away from Agent now. However, the stealth comes through, and the damage trade is definitely in favor of a Morrigan, who now transforms away from Eragon too, and the power out connects for a kill for StreakUp. Remember, this used to be technically a Hunter player once upon a time in the duo lane. Now he's playing mid, and it makes sense because emilitoo is in that duo.
Not 4 into the 1v1s, as right now Connor has to be, well, ready for a 5v1. He is locked and isolated between all the members of Cold Llamas. He's going to get taken down there. And I honestly, now I'm starting to jump on your boat, where I don't know where Equinox want to win that fight, because that was the moment, I would say, for Agent. And granted, there's a pretty hefty level lead for StreakUp, but also that was just mechanically awesome.
Yeah.
Everything he did there was perfect to the T. The minute his ult comes up, he was ready on it, becomes the dodgy, turns it around, and of course the peel from the team to help him get out from the later scenario. That just made it so clean for him. Now 5 members with Fire Giant. That's starting to knock on the door of the base, even though there's still a couple of tier 2s technically in the way.
Yeah, StreakUp's been around the scene a little while now, playing through the minor leagues, and a lot of people in the pro league noticed him. At least the Europeans were mentioning his name quite often, of being a potential superstar in that Hunter position. But I think with the changes to the pro league and the leagues this year for the Smite Challenger circuit, he's found himself this window onto this team, which, honestly, alongside him, these are some big names. You know, emilitoo, maniaKK, iceice, all of them have had a very good deep run towards the World Championships, and, well, one of them won it twice, let's just be honest. But then again, maniaKK's been around, and iceice, 2 finals for him over the course of the years. It really shows that, you know, people value StreakUp over in Europe right now.
Yeah, and I think it's also showcasing the amount of talent on Europe, because there's still teams, you know, you look at Freshly Forged that haven't even qualified for groups yet.
Which is crazy.
And we're going into the point, like, I mean, you're qualifying for what feels like so few spots, considering 12 teams are making it. And this team is technically in, but it took them week 2 to get here. And even then, you're seeing them face challenges. Right now, Equinox isn't maybe putting up as much of a fight for this game, but then you look at game 2, you look at what could potentially be the finals if Cold Llamas are able to make it there. The control they have looks solid. The history they have is amazing. And that's the middle ground.
The Phoenix push has begun, and the pressure is on towards Connor, who gets to the backline on emilitoo very well. And might get a kill and will do so. Fear No Evil comes up big for Agent too, but they need backup damage. The focus was on towards iceice Baby, who's on the powwow now, and the turnaround play is there as StreakUp gets himself a double kill, transforming again into this dodgy. That's a triple. Is the quadra available? Give it to him, boys. No, Genetics, what a scumbag, because that could have been a penta, and I am pretty salty about that on behalf of StreakUp. He'll take the quadra kill, and now that should be the end of game 1. Equinox, back to the drawing board.
Knocking down that Phoenix in no time, and it's just so much that goes well. Honestly, if I'm looking at next game, I'm looking at banning Morrigan and maybe changing up my build. I don't know if the Chiron's coin early Rod of Tahuti rush worked out well for the Merlin. He never really got to showcase any of what he could do there. Connor was the one that was maybe keeping things going. Even in that last fight, he was the one to kick things off. A really good target idea to go towards emilitoo. It just didn't work out for him. The follow-up wasn't there.
And one thing I do love is at the start of the year, you get a lot of different build variations because no one really knows what's good and what's bad. Sure, on paper, an item could be fantastic, but does it work in the competitive setting? And that's what Season 7 is all about, at the start of every season, really, because no one really understands what's what.
Yeah, mage builds right now especially are the ones that are kind of under turmoil, trying to figure out, okay, what items do I want for Pin? What items do I want in general? Like, should I get this now? Should I get it later? There's so much that you can do that's just going to morph from game to game. I mean, that was the first time I've seen Doomorb in a few weeks, and admittedly, it still worked out perfectly for StreakUp.
On a Morrigan as well. Thought we'd go see that earlier on. That's it for Game 1, though. Can Llamas close this out in 2 and move on to the finals? We'll find out after the break.
Welcome back, everybody. Cold Llamas do exactly what we expect from a team of their caliber. Really dispatch of Equinox in just 22 minutes. Aggro joined here by Mifflin on the desk. I mean, Miff, that one seemed pretty cut and dry to me. It was really just Cold Llamas being the best players on the field.
Yeah, Cold Llamas wasn't even necessarily playing good Smite. They weren't playing around the objectives incredibly well. They just out-mechanicked them every turn. You lose a fight in duo lane, you're also getting soloed in solo, and your mid laner's getting ganked, doesn't matter. Yeah, StreakUp's going to kill both of them.
Yeah, 12-1 for StreakUp in the mid lane. Seems to say, safe to say that he's doing okay there in that mid lane switch up. I think a lot of credit does need to go to Kana, though. I mean, this is a guy that we talked about coming in, PS4 player last year, now trying to qualify and has qualified to the group stages here of the Challenger Circuit. He played very, very well in this Camazotz, top damage in the whole game.
He did. He was the only one really showing any signs of life on the side of Equinox, but it just wasn't quite enough. But that's the most you can really expect from him going into Cold Llamas. He can only do so much.
No, only one man, for sure. You need a whole team effort in order to beat a team as talented as the Cold Llamas. I mean, every gank it felt like was going in Cold Llamas' favor. StreakUp was everywhere. The one fight that didn't go well for him and for Cold Llamas was in that solo lane where Kana was able to turn around and get a double kill.
That's right. And I feel so foolish. We called him the weak link. I mean, we did cover our bases, said he was a strong player.
Whoa. You may have called him the weak link. I never subscribed to that. I'm going to throw you under the bus 100% here because you tried to bring me down with you, and I won't accept it. I won't.
Well, I mean, you didn't correct me, but you're right. It was me. I did make that assumption, and clearly I was wrong. 12-1, so impressive. This play in particular, the mechanics purely just so good. Hunbot's got a little bit cocky and got smacked down for it.
Yeah, that was pretty clean. I mean, StreakUp just was a really talented player all last year, so no surprise at all that he's fitting in nicely into this roster. Got a quadra kill here, basically, and really could have been pentakill territory, but genetics scummed him a little bit on this one. That's what supports are there to do, right? Steal all your kills and be worthless in general.
Genetics. I'd bench him on the spot, you know?
Get him out of here immediately. Though he did look good on the Achilles. You got to give him credit there. That Achilles support, something that we haven't seen a whole lot of recently, but certainly ended up working out for him there.
It fits that similar category as like the Herc supports. He's really just looking to play aggressive and be a secondary jungler, and that's exactly what he did that game. But when you're going into a match with that much confidence that I'm assuming Cold Llamas is bringing, and you know that you're mechanically probably the best player in that field, why not just play another jungler?
So here's the deal. Obviously, we re-pick the Camazotz for Kana right away, as soon as humanly possible for Equinox, and then we change everybody else in the draft, right?
I think maybe you just throw a dart at the screen and just try and confuse Cold Llamas at this point. Just pick your gods, maybe with an RNG generator. Just really just, you know, we got to do something. You know, if we can't play better Smite, let's play different Smite.
Can't beat them at their own game, so may as well try and play ours, right? It's a fair strategy. But I'd imagine Equinox is going to try and first pick the Camazotz. I'd anticipate the Llamas actually ban it away because Kana did seem to give them some trouble. Or maybe they just put Maniac on something a little bit more high pressure. Yorm is really not there to bully you out of lane, though, to be fair, I don't know that there's anything that really bullies Camazotz out of lane.
I mean, Maniac made a good showing of it, though. He set up camp between the Tier 1 and Tier 2, and he didn't leave ever.
That's the way the Maniac wants to play at all times, for sure. Just with that arrogance almost. That's that old soul lane mentality for sure. Umoja banned by Equinox, so they have set themselves up nicely for a Camazotz first pick, as Cold Llamas actually ban away the Morrigan, fearing a first pick of that for Equinox. So now there should be a Camazotz lock-in in my mind. No reason you wouldn't give Kana that god back, and indeed it is, but now what does Cold Llamas get to try and answer back?
Cold Llamas, they could go anywhere they want as long as they're comfortable on it. Jingwei, that's a safe pick, you know, standard that we've seen throughout the weeks now.
Yeah.
But I would expect to see more aggressive play. We saw Cold Llamas picking aggression all the way across the board, and Odin's matching that energy.
That's right. New Odin certainly has been a big topic of discussion. How good is he going to be at this level? I think his flexibility is the one thing that stands out to me the most. I mean, this is a pick now. They've locked in Odin. This could go to solo, jungle, or support and be really good at all three of those roles.
Absolutely. It's going to affect the second ban phase as well, as long as they don't show their hand here. Maybe pick a mid-mage so you really keep it really ambiguous, if you would. Thor, on the other end, very good pick. It's going to be able to keep up that global pressure. Maybe if you can't match the jungle pathing of a world-class jungler, that global is going to really even the playing field just a little bit.
I mean, I love these first three picks for Equinox. Camazotz, Thor, Xingqian, all very, very strong. You see Xingqian's win rate 67% despite being in half the games, so you know he's played a lot, and he's winning a lot of those games, though, of course, only through 2 weeks. And Cold Llamas do not go with a mid lane mage. Instead, they pick up the Terra, and this is a pick that Genetics absolutely loves. So now I think you've narrowed it down to, is this Odin going into solo or jungle?
Yeah. If I'm on the side of Equinox, I'm going to go ahead and ban out junglers just because I fear Odin jungle a lot less than I do in support. So support Odin, he's going to bring the pressure, and he's going to be able to match the pressure they had last game, even though Jingwei, if she does go into the long lane, not necessarily as aggressive a pick. But with an Odin leading the board with Gungnir's Might and Raven Shout and all that good stuff, what are you going to do? You're getting dunked.
Interesting. A Discordia selection here for Cold Llamas. And when I think of top-tier mid laners right now, Discordia does not really come to mind. But this does lend itself to that early aggression, that passive giving that extra power to whoever's doing the most damage on your team can make a big difference.
Scylla, on the other hand, I'm not sure that I agree with this pickup for the side of Equinox in that, yes, you have the Thor dunk for setup, but that's just about it outside of Xingqian. And Xingqian's not really as reliable.
Xingqian setup's pretty solid, but it requires a little bit of forethought on which targets you're going to go on, mostly tanks a lot of the time, so can be difficult at times. The Ho Yi is another pick. I mean, all 5 gods can get out of the Odin cage. Is that a big concern now if you've locked in this Odin?
I don't think so, no. I mean, you've always been willing to play around the leaps. I think Equinox needs the Phantom if they really want to play around the Odin safely. And now new Odin, if you jump out of the cage, you're still taking some burst damage from that spear chasing you down.
It's a good point. That's a good point for sure. And you can break yourselves out with auto attacks, but these are pretty low auto attack speed characters. Ho Yi, one of the lowest base attack speeds of all hunters. As Achilles rounds out the draft for Cold Llamas, but it doesn't look like it's going back to support this time. We'll see where it ends up, and we'll see if Equinox can have a better showing here in game number 2. Cold Llamas looking for the 2-0.
Thanks so much, Aggro and Mifflin on the casual set, is what I'm going to call it now. There's no real desk there. I mean, you're not working on the desk. Yeah, Aggro's even got a fake laptop there. Oh, hang on a second. Straight away, some aggression. Eragon getting pressured out early on as Jingwei alongside Genetics here. And look at this mixture we're seeing already.
Yeah.
This role swap between StreakUp and emilitoo. This is very beneficial for a team.
And that's one of the best things. emilitoo has a lot of experience, especially with the way the meta has shifted, playing a lot of mages, either in duo or mid. And of course, being able to kind of keep it StreakUp, we've seen in both roles as well. Having that flexibility just opens them up for so much more. In fact, it allows them to maybe even get aggressive and get a first blood here.
Trying to just burn out some of those potions from Eragon, unlikely to really find a kill unless a massive misplay really happens here. But they're also trying to take into account that he's gone for the blink option, so trying to abuse that, the fact that he's not got that shell. But emilitoo in mid, not something we see too often. He's played mages before. He's going to take on the Scylla. And Discordia, not something we see too often in the competitive meta. Why not?
Well, it's very similar to Scylla. She does a lot of damage, but that's about all she can do. Although she does have some decent CC, it's just not as good as what you're going to get out of other mages. Even in this matchup, you're going to see Scylla kind of do way more damage in terms of, well, what you're going to have out with ultimates and everything. Discordia can cause some, discord across the board, but
completely agree. I think
not
a lot of people view her as
everything.
a passive bot because her passive really brings a lot to the team, giving bonus damage to who already is doing the most damage on your side. So when you think about like having a StreakUp on your team, maybe there's a good chance he'll do well, or even Odin in the early game, and it's iceice playing that Odin this game. Sure, Odin jungle might not be as, impactful as people like to think, but when iceice has got hold of it, he's played a ton of this through his career, and he's very good at it.
And now he has a stun, which is just going to make it a lot easier for him. Like, it's not just, okay, cool, I can jump over the wall and deal a lot of damage and maybe cage you down. It's, I can stun you if I need to on a relatively easy cooldown and, well, set up and potentially kills like that.
Friday having a very rough time in lane, will be forced back to base much earlier than he was bargained for. It does look like he was going for that Book of Toth rush. He won't have the opportunity to get anywhere close to that now, as he'll just have to take boots 1 and 4 more potions to come back to the laning phase and try and hold on for the time being. This laning phase, though, on the left-hand side, different story. All the pressure again is onto Zearoe and Eragon, as Genetics is just doing a very good job of helping out this Jingwei in the early game.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's kind of same story as last game. Different gods and, well, different sides of the map. But overall, one team can't leave their tier 1 and the other team is ready for it. As right now, Connor's getting dunked on.
Third bomb connects from iceice, and the chase is on for Connor, who doesn't really have many escapes, at only level 3. And a great first blood for the Llamas. And it's going to go over to iceice on that jungle Odin.
That's frightening, because now he has a level lead closer to getting that cage. And yeah, you can break it down now, but takes a little while to get there. A lot of team coordination, I think, to do so. Otherwise, upon leaving, you take a little bit of damage. His follow-up is going to be solid. And, well, since he's already finding good stuns, already finding good damage across mid and solo, I don't know if I want him to have a lead right now.
Well, he's not also an ult bot anymore, is Odin, because of that stun being added to him. Sure, everyone on Equinox...
He's got 3 other abilities.
Exactly, but Equinox all have escapes from the ring, but they'll take damage if they choose to leave the ring over the top of it, or, in Stella's case, technically underneath, which is still classed as a leap, so you all know. So you all have that opportunity there to still deal damage with it and cause some problems. It's not just that. Purple buff invaded again, though, from Llamas here. Genetics did reset it there, unfortunately, as StreakUp tried to reposition himself away from that ricochet that was fired from the duo lane from Zearoe. But also at the same time, keep an eye on iFreiday and also Agent, who are on this left-hand side of the map now. Still at only level 4, however, so Ultimate's not available to contest. But we're going to see Agent rotate over here.
He's going to be looking for a stun. The setup. Genetics is kind of out in the water. But he's pretty tanky even as is right now. In fact, Agent's taking more damage than Genetics is. Not exactly what you want out of the gank. It's, again, a mirror of what we saw last game.
Yeah, and this is just pressure in the Cold Llamas duo lane, which is allowing a bit more freedom towards Friday in mid. And you saw him use the Sentinel already, so he's just going to end up falling down here. There's not much he can do other than just basic attack. And at the same time, Genetics managed to get a kill onto Agent. Really surprised by that one. Not much that you can really do. Equinox falling behind very early here by 3 kills.
The pings were coming through. They were calling. They wanted iceice to come over and fight, and it's just, you can only do so much between a tier 1 and a tier 2, especially when they have at least enough getaways that they have on the side of Equinox to stay safe under those towers. But hey, take what you can. Strip out any part of the jungle you can find, which is where we saw iceice go, get some of those back XP camps, and then set themselves up. Deep vision, and, well, now, if I'm the duo lane, I'm kind of scared because I know that iceice is looking over here.
Sun's dropped down, though, by Zearoe, trying to get aggressive on StreakUp as he already used the beads. Has his ultimate available and probably just enough mana to use it, but he's trying to hold on to it as long as possible. iceice rotating in. He dashes away to StreakUp, and that leaves Zeroes alone because Eragon chased the kill. Now he's in no man's land, and StreakUp has survived. And it doesn't look like Cold Llamas are going to even bother chasing. Just going to head back to base.
I don't even think you need to. I like the way they play that. He's level 4, so yeah, at this point in the game, like, you're still going to get something out of him, but he's just dead in the water. He wasn't able to help his ADC. He wasn't able to help anybody get a kill. StreakUp managed to get out. That was a shaky dash. I was very scared for him just for a little bit there until he hit the tier 2. And then Eragon's just kind of like, cool, what do I do now? I guess I'll go farm?
The best news about Equinox this game, I will say, is like last game, we're like, okay, we don't see a window back into this, right? At least with their god selections this time round, I always feel like there's a chance.
Yeah.
You know, there's Scylla, there's Thor, there's Hou Yi, there's Xingtian, and then the Camazotz. I feel like each of them could potentially help to turn a game.
With every single ult they have, as long as they're online going into a fight, there is so much lockdown and then setup and damage that they could do that potentially finding kills like this onto iceice with an I'm a Monster would be clean.
But is the cooldown available for the leap away? iceice trying to hold on as long as he can, but knocked up. And that secures Friday the kill. First one on the board for Equinox. As iceice just got a little bit greedy for those back harpies there.
That's maybe going to be the biggest downside. We saw it yesterday in NA. Sometimes greed will absolutely lose you a game. Thor, though, is going up in the air looking for Genetics, and that's a good blink.
It was a good blink, and it was well timed as the Agent was going to land there. Pressure relieved as Llamas do lose a life in the jungle. Nearly lost a life in this duo lane. Equinox starting to bounce back a little bit, and I think that is down to, you know, the realization that they can scrap in their own jungle.
And not only scrap in their own jungle, again, maybe biting off more than they can chew on Cold Llamas right now, but the ults they have and the suite of them that Equinox are able to bring to the table just sets up a lot of kills. I mean, Eragon hasn't even gotten to uses yet, but a good gank here with Agent and Eragon in the area means they could lock down at least one of these, Genetics or StreakUp. Right now, Genetics looks like the easier target.
Definitely is, because Jingwei very mobile. Genetics under pressure here. Sun's dropped down, but in comes iceice, baby, and he'll get one. Might be able to find the second at the tail end. This is onto Eragon. Meanwhile, in the duo lane, Zearoe low on mana, but StreakUp low on health. Luckily enough, he's got Genetics alongside him, though. And that'll force out the beads, but maybe iceice wants more. The minions might spot him. Zearoe might not know. He'll know now, and he will avoid the bird bomb. Nice play from Zearoe there to make sure he at least survives.
Very heads up. I love the way he played pretty much every moment of that if you're StreakUp, or if you're Zearoe. StreakUp getting aggressive. You have iceice kind of peeling off, chasing off a kill. And you're just like, all right, where do I need to go? Genetics too low to dive the tower, but he's going to go for a stun on the edge to try and find the kill. Pre-beads it. You don't even have to worry about the damage. Just back up. Try to stay alive because you haven't even gotten, depending on where he's going, your Devo gloves or your Bloodforge yet. You need the farm. You need the gold. Try to stay alive as long as you can.
All the while, notice that the mid laners haven't really been, you know, focused so far after the beginning of the game. Sure, we saw Friday fall down, but those two have just been allowed to just continue to farm up in this early stage, not have to make rotations, not share too much experience. But it has allowed emilitoo to have a bit of a lead here, as aggression once again is now towards emilitoo by Agent, but he got hit by that apple, and that really slowed down his aggression. emilitoo will now get a kill in a 2-on-3 scenario where Friday wasn't even available.
He's going to be right now, Friday, trying to back a little too low to stay in it as well. And this is the interesting thing. Scylla, especially, like if you either A, don't hit your cooldowns or you're not there in time for it to matter, your damage is nothing anymore because that's all you were able to bring to the table. emilitoo has at least a little bit more like CC to bring to the table, as well as, again, a good ult that he was able to use that time. And I'm still trying to get used to seeing Discordia next to emilitoo's name. That one's just not something that's usual, but Discordia, at least in Europe, I've been seeing kind of in the mix of mid laners. It's still maybe not my go-to, not my first pick that I'm going to grab up, but she brings the essence of what you want out of a mid laner. I just think not at the same level that you get out of someone. Like, if you had Kumbhakarna here, he does pretty much everything you need and then some. Of course, with him getting banned out as much as he is, you have to start reaching into maybe those lower mages and figure someone out.
Now look at the player damage there. You can see it's Genetics at the top, and I'm only referencing it because Discord is on his team, and it's allowing this support. It's interesting to see that they've allowed him to have this passive, which is allowing him to be a little bit more aggressive in this early game and deal a bit more damage. maniaKK, though, eating a ton of damage by Connor here, as Connor's looking for the tower dive. Genetics is here, but no mana for Genetics. And in comes Eragon with the roar, but still unable to find the pick onto him. And now it's an overextension from Equinox. However, Friday's rotating around the back, and so Agent is here too. But what can they make happen? Well, Cold Llamas just fall back, and now Equinox, you know, pressure relieved for a second. They might get a blue, but that's about it.
They're still looking for a fight. Genetics specifically, he's kind of taken on the role as second jungler, and he wants to fight. emilitoo's rotated over, almost got the ricochet, but he's stunned out. This is a bad spot to be in.
Not sure if emilitoo that was intended whatsoever. It looks like he just hit the wall by mistake, trying to find that angle. An Agent who rotates into the jungle gets picked apart now, as Equinox just hung around too long. StreakUp, meanwhile, forced to use his ult away from Zearoe, who drops into response. Nice little play from Zearoe there, as StreakUp just went in looking for more damage. It's still 7-1, and Tier 1 should fall in mid.
I mean, the best news for Equinox is that this time around they don't have StreakUp getting so huge he can't do anything, but right now it is one more hit to be able to find it. iceice goes down, and they're still looking for the chase. Friday wastes his I'm a monster, though.
Yeah, great juke from iceice to the tail end there to avoid the roar out of Eragon, but the chase was still on from Connor. That Tier 1 does now fall down in the middle lane, so it opens up this map even more so now. Without that Tier 1 tower gore, it kind of allows Llamas to get more aggressive.
And especially in mid, like if you lose a Tier 1 on the side, yeah, okay, maybe that blue buff or that purple buff is already open. Now, red buff is accessible. It's much easier to get to that speed buff, and we've seen iceice get greedy already. That might be something that's on the menu for him, but it's also easier to find Scylla. If you push up to mid lane, much like where he is, and iceice happens to be in the right spot at the right time, you're dead. You're just going to have a very clean gank with no safe spot for you to retreat to. So that's probably the most essential Tier 1 that they have now lost. And for Equinox, it's just been a slow bleed.
You're just tuning in, though. This is week 2 of the SCC in Europe. All these teams so far we're watching today have made it to the semi-finals, and that qualifies for them the group play in week 4. And this is kind of a little look at placements more than anything else to see which group they'll end up falling into, and an idea of which teams we've got to look forward to see in that group play.
Yeah.
I do think Llamas might be okay there with how they're at least performing this week. Equinox, though, it looks like they're going to have a bit of a hard time at the moment from looks based off what we've seen so far.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see because there's so many good teams that are there. And again, so many good teams that are not there yet that are still looking to qualify. So that's going to make these group stages, in my eyes, just even more interesting. I mean, you're competing for the top spots in that. You have to have a good performance against everybody there. And you don't have to be number 1. You can always lose a couple, but every single one that you lose is a step closer for someone else to take your spot.
Cold Llamas getting aggressive. emilitoo leading the charge on towards Agent, and Agent's under a lot of pressure. Gets a bit of help out from Eragon there, but enough to allow him to buy time and get to his ultimate, but that's going to cause Eragon potentially his life. Now it's Eragon that needs some help here, and I'm not sure he's going to get it.
Nope.
They might have to just sacrifice him. Connor is rotating at the tail end, and the overextension from Cold Llama should now be punished. Connor misses with the Vampiric Batz, but hit the Screech, and Friday did a good job of juking out Genetics, but Genetics double dash will be enough to bring him down, and now it's Connor left on the right-hand side. He rotated to help, and he's going to end up losing his life eventually, but he might get a kill if he can. Won't be allowed this time round. emilitoo twisting around and gets away. And StreakUp just, you know, a bit too much there, son. You're not going to get a gold on your own just yet.
Not just yet. Still needs to finish off that Devil Gloves. Maybe
Even then, yeah.
finish off his rage to try and get a little bit more power to sustain through that one. But the biggest thing from Cold Llamas I'm seeing is recognizing how big of a threat Connor was last game and applying that to, okay, we'll give him Camazotz again, but don't make the same mistakes. Don't get aggressive on him. If you're low, if you're within 1 to 2 hits, take a couple steps back. We'll body block for you, which they've been doing excellently. And of course, you have a Terra over there as well, which is even better peel for that solo lane. It's just a lot of setup to make sure that Connor can't do what he was doing on Camazotz, and that's where the kill disparity is coming from.
Agent gets stunned as he tried to jump to his hammer, I feel there, so now he's not going to have that available. And Genetics recognizing that just kept the pressure going. A little bit low on mana, however, and after the wall, the apple did not hit onto Eragon, which was very, very close indeed. And Agent going to fall back to base once more. The good news for for Agent though, he's at least still keeping pace with this Odin jungle.
Yeah, now just slowly falling behind here, but they've been kind of 1-for-1 in a lot of these, which is weird to look at when you see that Odin is 3-2-5 and Thor is 0-4-0. But it's been a lot of this from iceice. More successful ganks that might not lead to much farm afterward, whereas Agent, a lot less successful ganks, but he's been able to find something in the jungle whenever he retreats.
Yeah, the lead is only 3,000, but it definitely feels like it's all in Cold Llama's favor so far. Equinox haven't really found anything going for them, and that experience really starts to tell the tale a little bit more so as Friday loses half his health again. Agent going to take to the sky in full vision of Llamas, looking for the kill on emilitoo. Juked out by Emil again, and now with that, he's still chasing for the kill as 4 members swoop round to support. StreakUp gets himself onto the board.
Now, that's the perfect time that we were just talking about. A maniac right now has to use his ult to try and stay alive, so we'll focus in on him if he can. He's doing a lot to control this, gets the heal off.
Yeah.
And Connor's going to have to use his last jump to get away.
That ultimate at the end there just gave him enough health to survive, otherwise I think Connor had a bit of a better shot here. Gold Fury started up though. Eragon trying to zone away iceice, not realizing the goal's going on. iceice might be off more than he can chew. I say that, but it is Odin, and Odin's having a whale of a time in the meta right now. Gold Fury, though, by Llamas is secured. I love the attempt from Zearoe in a 3v1.
That was really good, too. He got it at the right moment. A great I'm a monster to just burn down that Odin. iceice might have stayed too long as Genetics goes in, ends up taking that damage. He's in a position to get killed off.
Yeah, a little bit overextension from Genetics there, especially after the Gold Fury and with iceice falling. It gives Equinox, I guess, you know, a glimmer of hope at this point in time.
Just something, again, to give them an in back into the game, right? They're never truly out. Again, looking at these ults, they have so much, just what that I'm a monster was able to do. The problem is the mechanical skill that keeps coming down, and I have to relate this back to what we saw out of Agent just a couple minutes ago, where he goes in, you get juked once by Discordia, you throw out your hammer, you get juked twice by Discordia, you teleport to it to go for a Berserker's Barrage, you get juked a 3rd time by Discordia, and at that point you're just like, man, what do I do here? That's why he's 0-5.
Yeah.
You need a little bit more.
Yeah, he's still trying to keep the pressure going, but it's not working out. And as you saw, emilitoo having a pretty fun time in mid at the moment. Been involved in 7 kills, 3-0 and 4. And slowly but surely, he's now taken the player damage away from Genetics, which means he's got his own passive, and that's pretty useful on Genetics too. Build options for Genetics went for the Chronos Pendant for the cooldown reduction. He's at max cooldown, thanks to that Mage's Blessing and the Shoes of Focus. And Divine Ruin, something that I expect to be a lot more core on some of these mages this year with how effective it can be.
Especially in a matchup like this, there's so much sustain, specifically on people like Connor and maniaK, as Connor is going to be able to, well, at least stay alive for a little bit. Has to use the ult defensively. There's a 3-man gank on solo.
Yeah, but StreakUp also had his beads available as Agent dunked down, so StreakUp just bought himself enough time to dash away to mid. Right-hand side, as you said, the gank's still going on. It's a collapse onto Connor, and there's a chases on for StreakUp at the same time. It should be a 1-for-1 across the map, but I think the difference will be is a tier 1 tower will fall on the right, which is just a small advantage for the Llamas.
And they can push this advantage. You could go for a tier 2 here. It's a little riskier, but it's still open as a play. And admittedly, since you have minions in mid catching the 3 that are there, you know you're safe for a little bit. The other option would be call for the Pyromancer, but I like this one. It gives them a little bit more gold in their pocket and makes StreakUp's sacrifice a lot more worth it, and they might even be able to clean up a fight right afterward.
Yeah, Tier 2 tower does fall, and the march continues from Llamas here. A little bit too much. I think that's why maybe they're expecting Equinox not to expect this. Eragon finds out first, though. Double dashes away. Meanwhile, Agent does get his speed buff and gets over the wall in time to avoid danger there. But once again, it's Equinox. Feels like it's a game of cat and mouse where Equinox are now running away from Llamas the entire time.
There's a lot of these moments where it feels like Equinox, like they have the right idea. They go in for the engagement. They know what they want to do. And then they catch up and they're like, wait a minute. Where do we go now? Like, what's the next ult? Where's the next rotation? Like, what are we looking for? And that moment with the Tier 2, if you're going to fall back, Pyromancer was available for you. You had 4 people in the area. They split. They get a Tier 1 in mid. They almost get a Tier 1 over there in the long lane. And then they fall back to speed buff instead.
And now the Fire Giant started up by Llamas. Connor here, though, has a Magi's Cloak, so that will give him a bit more CC immunity in these engagements, which will buy him a bit more time for his team. And just with him showing up there, Llamas go, nope, this is not the right call. Then they're going to drop the Fire Giant for now. But it really is coming down to experience more than anything else between these two. Gold leads are still marginal. 4K, sure, it adds up, but it's only part of an item at this moment in time. Experience is a complete different story.
It's just a consistent kind of one-level lead for almost everyone on Cold Llamas. Actually falling behind here for StreakUp, so a very different story for him from last game. But he's got the Executioner online, along with the Rage that's starting to build stacks. He's just going to get more powerful as this game goes on, and fights like this actually end up helping him as long as he can stay alive.
Well, maniaKK was being focused out there, but now in this guy's Agent, can he find anyone in the jungle there? Because iceice was low, but a blink again baits Agent into a worse spot as the walls collapse. His hammer's now down. Genetic's thinking about going in, looks for the stun on Friday, won't find it this time. emilitoo still alive under that Tier 2 tower, and now in comes StreakUp to the fray. Straight up 5-on-5 on the way, but 2 ultimates already down for Equinox. Friday, though, gets the kill on emilitoo. That's a big one. Sun zone away a couple of members of Cold Llamas, and they can focus onto iceice, but that's a tanky Odin, and he'll be okay for now. Cold Llamas just happy to just kind of sit back and go, okay, you're not really doing much to us here to get hold of this game.
They burned 4 ults, though, to try and get that. Granted, Terra ult, in my mind, is worth 2 or 3, so it's absolutely worthwhile for them, but you have to be very wary with Genetics and StreakUp still in the area.
Okay.
Fire Giant's not too safe.
We'll see what they can do with it, though. Connor going to be on zone duty. Not a whole lot of zone he can do other than just raw damage. It's the carries of Llamas that have got to be careful. Equinox tried to pull in Llamas there as they reset that Fire Giant for the time being. Focus on StreakUp, who'll airstrike away and did a ton of damage to the front line at the same time. This front line of Eragon really falls further behind. He's only level 11, doesn't have that second relic, and Zearoe just hung around too long. Now the chase is on for him, and he needs some peel help and gets it, but it's going to cost his teammates lives by doing so. Agent dunks in time to keep Friday alive, but now Agent's going to run instead. Connor's out for the time being as they all look towards his Thor, who hit the wall with his hammer. The wall comes down, as does the Bird Bomb. Great route out of Scylla, but it's not enough to find a kill yet. Connor comes to the back line, finds one on iceice, looking for the double. Now the sustain comes through. They have a monster, and Equinox are just pulling themselves back into this. Llamas win the fight, but it's not over just yet. Friday bit off more than he can chew. Connor's just going to be the last man standing to deal with, well, a Discordia that's having a pretty good game so far.
But if that I'm a Monster hits, we're looking at maybe a different pace of game right now. That kind of nullifies both teams from the Fire Giant, but that was beautifully played. Connor, as well as Friday, are in a position where it's just like, maybe you should just get out. Like, just stop fighting, back off. And they see, no, they're just low enough on Cold Llamas, we might be able to do something. Blinking in to continue that fight was good for him.
Dangerous, but definitely came up big for them. And that's kind of what you have to do sometimes, is the risk versus reward, right? Yeah. The state of the game and how it's going.
And he knows, as Camazotz, he's got just enough sustain to stay afloat in that. Granted, there's a lot of scenarios where that goes horrifically wrong and he just feeds. But he got the one where he goes in, gets a heal and some kills to make sure everything kind of keeps rolling for him. And again, that's those moments, those little plays are the glimpses that Equinox have, I think, that not only keep them alive in this game, but make them look good in the bigger picture.
Shows how they made
it
here, right? Yeah, that's a very good point to make. And one thing that Equinox did very well there, to be honest, self-peel and team peel.
Yes.
It's something a lot of teams struggle with. The better teams really do a good job of trying to peel for each other, help each other out of danger. Sure, Agent ended up falling down there as he went in to help peel, but I think that's what it's all really about. When you protect each other and support where you can, it can make out things a little bit better for you.
I feel like I'd much rather sacrifice my 0-6-3 level 16 Thor than drop Friday. Granted, Friday ends up dying a little bit later, but it was after he has a kind of huge return to the fight. And it's those moments where it's just like, you know, Agent, recognize where you are and what you're doing. You have a really good ult, you have a really good stun. Just be the peel machine, be the setup machine if you can find it, but don't worry about trying to pick them up yourself. You have teammates for that reason. With Zearoe and Friday, and now Connor with the way that he's playing, you have carries. You don't need to be the one to do it.
Yeah, it definitely shows where Equinox were lacking, though, up against Cold Llamas, and that's the laning phase. I think Llamas definitely had, you know, the scruff of the neck of this game through the laning phase, but Equinox has shown that they can kind of team fight pretty well. The position's been a bit better here. maniaKK on the front sides eats way more damage than bargained for. iceice forced to use the ult in response. Agents of the Sky, will he look for maniaKK is the question. I would look maybe towards Connor to help him out against emilitoo and Genetics. Instead, he's going to go on the front line and actually catch StreakUp and force those beads. Now StreakUp walled off. Have a monster hit for 1,000 damage, but StreakUp still lives and survives. Meanwhile, Genetics chasing the kill onto Zearoe, and Zearoe jumps back towards his team, but he's going to get executed by down Genetics there, who's going to get a double kill off the back of it.
I mean, this is an 8-1-6 Achilles right now, and he might be able to push it a little further. Connor's in trouble, locked down, isolated. That's what maniaKK brings to the table. Not just the healing, but also the CC. Keeps him alive. It's forcing Friday out. And StreakUp, I mean, this is the best thing about Jingwei. If he gets low like that, come back in, your passive just gets you right back in the fight. They can keep going, and they're pinging around the Fire Giant and Pyromancer. They can play this dance.
Love this call, by the way, from what we've seen out of iceice, because the rest of his team is doing the Fire Giant. He's keeping two members busy. I think Eragon really needs to be over at the FG trying to cause a problem there rather than, well, good news for them. I guess they did at least kill the iceice there for that. I didn't expect that to happen.
I was wondering when and how he would go down if he was going to, and it was more of once Sikkim came out, it's a great ability at locking people down, and well, that's all Friday needs. Is it worthwhile overall to have the one for Fire Giant? No, but
was it
you
necessary?
At least get something out of it, right? Like you're able to find it, you're zoned out so far. Are you going to win that fight if you're over there? No, I'm a monster at the time. You couldn't do too much in the Fire Giant pit.
Completely agree, and the one good news coming through is Scylla is actually climbing in the power damage standings now.
She's doing a lot.
The damage is coming out, and it's really making an impact in the fights. So I think we'll see a bit more attention from Llamas towards Friday. Zearoe been pretty nullified so far this game, if I'm honest. But then again, so is StreakUp, both those hunters below 11,000 player damage at the moment, which isn't too surprising with how this game's been played.
Yeah.
But you would like to see them come online soon, especially with these builds they've got.
StreakUp, yeah, has been surprisingly quiet. Zearoe, I've seen a lot more in terms of his ult, like in setup or peel for his team, but I keep looking at StreakUp pretty much the same way I was looking at him last game. Like, all right, so when are you going to get the kills now? Like, you were 9-1 or some ridiculous slash line. Where are you for this one? And it's a little more well spread onto Genetics this time more than anything, but he's slowly but surely coming into this. Hasn't finished his rage stacks just yet, but now has the Deathbringer. His crits are going to hit harder. I expect that we're about to start seeing a different StreakUp.
Bit of over-aggression from Equinox towards that left-hand side, and Cold Llamas tried to pinch him around the back there. All on the run for a second, and the siege of the Tier 2 begins. 4 members with the FG, and there goes Eragon in looking for an ultimate. Won't find anyone. Agent in the sky, I'm a monster, does hit onto iceice Baby, who is attacking the front line. As Agent ducks the back, he forces StreakUp back for a second, and Connor's going in to try and force the kill him, force the airstrike out. Agent, meanwhile, will get away from the danger of the hammer, but the health bars of Equinox is falling. Friday, though, will at least pick up iceice, but that might not slow down Llamas from coming and getting what they were after here in that Tier 2 tower. Remember, FG on board and a bit of sustain from Terra. They could continue to go here if they want to.
Well, you still have everyone alive. That's the biggest thing. 5 members, and they're trying to go for a Phoenix. If I am Cold Llamas here, this might not be the cleanest engagement you have. You have emilitoo's ult coming back up, but that's really the only tool that you've got now in your arsenal to pull through. There's still a Tier 2 in mid you could look to push down. Otherwise, you're risking a ton. You might not be able to get too much. It depends on how they go in for this engagement. Genetics could still find some big executes.
Apple a day will keep Equinox at bay. Won't get a kill just yet off that, but it is lowering the health bars down. Genetics gets hold of Eragon. Agent to the back. Looking again towards emilitoo this time. The StreakUp's there to support him along with those walls from maniaKK. And now Friday overextends, gets hit by the Aegis to make sure he gets away for now, but he executes on. Zeroe has to body block it for his teammate. All the while, Llamas are focusing on the Phoenix as the rest of Equinox forced back to the fountain.
It's a good pick on Eragon early on, which then opens up Agent, who has to dunk into the back. The only thing that could go better for you there is if you get rid of Friday, because even though he's been, I don't want to say low impact, like he doesn't have the setup that you're seeing, the damage has just been too much to handle. I mean, you're looking at emilitoo, StreakUp, and iceice more than anybody, who's just getting melted down by the Scylla so consistently. If you could just kill him for a few seconds, get him off the board for a minute, you have so much more capabilities in terms of sieging a Phoenix, sieging a tower, or, well, getting another Fury.
Well, I don't know why Equinox was so far forward with only a few members alive against the Fire Giant team. They walk in the jungle to find out where Llamas are, and oh boy, do they find out where. Zearoe is a casualty of war now, and for 50 seconds, he's not going to be available. Llamas, the Fire Giant's going to wear off them, but they could look for a middle Phoenix if they so choose here. I will expect them to just do a tier 2, though, because they should have a pretty big lump of gold in hand.
Yeah, tier 2, go spend what you have, because as you can see, most of the players over 2,000 or just around 2,000. This will send them all over. So you can go finish off, if you have any blessings, which you can see on emilitoo and StreakUp, sell those off, get your last item started. Or if you want to, you can upgrade your relics, get some of those cooldowns that you need from things like beads and Aegis. Just stay alive in the fight a little bit longer.
Genoke's very confident coming around the back, focusing towards Agent, but he's a little bit alone. He's forcing Llamas to commit in forthright towards the middle Phoenix. Nice ultimate out from Eragon there, just to force a couple of beads out of his opposition. But all the while, Llamas still just chipping away at this Phoenix in mid lane. Nobody else really able to get in range to slow it down. Great work from Llamas there, as Equinox now in a really tough spot with 2 Phoenixes being down.
Yeah, that's honestly the biggest pickup for Cold Llamas. Just because they over-aggress on Equinox. Like, that's really what happened, is that you have 2 members that die, you lose 1 Phoenix. If you just stay back and defend, you're fine. But you chase after that Fury, and then you lose a couple more members, you're staggered out, and it just sets them up. Tier 2 Phoenix, now they go spend everything. And Fire Giant's back, Pyromancer's about to respawn. It sets them up perfectly for the next objectives if you're Cold Llamas. And you have Fire Minions pouring down 2 waves, or 2 lanes here. That's going to make it a lot easier to maybe peel somebody from Equinox away from the fight and make it a 4v5.
Kind of will at least drop a ward down at the FG, but maniaK just pinged it immediately to say, hey, it's down on the ground here. We know exactly what's going on. Get a sentry down. Let's clear that one out. An Agent is going to really be on him for a bit of global vision at some point in time, but Zearoe showing himself on the left-hand side, defending Fire Minions. Opens up the window for Llamas to start up this Fire Giant. Do you try and contest this one at this point?
I think
tricky.
I want Friday in the area. Unfortunately for them, he's not, and that would be great. Eragon can try to go in. We've already seen what a support can do today around the Fire Giant, but he needs to get in there fast.
Oh, Llamas will secure it. It was kind of close. I like the idea from Eragon. He gets the Windfire wheels off, but now he's on the run. The root comes out from maniaK, and his life will fall. Left-hand side, Zearoe is at least buying a bit more time by clearing out these Fire Minions still on the left. But now it's time to probably fall back because, well, Llamas just based anyway. They should have spent most of their gold. So why not just tear down this right-hand side and look for the final Phoenix of the game?
Yeah, they have nothing to be patient for. You need to get out of there. You're going to get a tier 1 in left thanks to Zearoe pushing up, but you need a couple kills right now, and you need to help something with the Fire Minions, because iceice just pushed forward. He might be separate from the team, but that just means someone who can come in and gank.
Zearoe drops his ult early on to try and zone him away. maniaK bit off way more than he could chew. Zearoe credit with a kill there. Good combo coming out of Equinox. Do you reckon?
I mean, it's not looking good, actually, as members are backing off. Connor falling back. Oof. I was thinking it would be enough to maybe cause a pause. iceice takes a lot of damage, but they still get the Phoenix.
Yeah, those Sycamores.
That's all 3 down.
Those Sycamores from Friday are really starting to hurt, and that's why Llamas are being a bit more respectful, looking to poke down damage. And Friday's Book of the Dead is going to end up being consumed off that play there. Yeah. Like the idea of it, you know, give them that extra bonus health shield. But at the same time, emilitoo played that very well to burn that off it.
It's only so much to be able to stay alive for a certain amount of time. And, well, 70 seconds of a cooldown. I don't know if he's going to have it for the next fight. Kind of depends. With maniaK down, it's enough to deter but not stop overall. That's pretty much what I got out of that last fight is, yes, you make them maybe reconsider and then re-engage. Fire Giant is a strong buff at this point. You need something to help defend this left side Phoenix. Mid will come up soon thereafter. But if I'm Cold Llamas, I'm on a tear. I'm 11,000 gold up. I'm finishing my last few items thanks to that last back. This is the end game for them. They know what they're looking for. You need a monumental kill set from Friday, good setup from Agent. potentially get Connor in there to get some of what we saw early on in this game and what we saw out of him last game. Those are the things that are going to make the big difference.
Interesting to see exactly Zearoe going for that chins this game as well. Normally with crit and chins, you would never see the pair combined ever.
Yeah.
It was always a rule of thumb if you're making a mistake if you do. I can kind of see where Zero's coming from with this, though, because of the fact they've got a lot of high health on this team, a lot of frontline tankiness.
Yeah.
In that case, do you forego the crit anyway? I know it's good. Hold that thought, though. emilitoo, way more than bargained for there. Zearoe forced to leap away, and that leap being on cooldown means engagement time is on. maniaK straight in and blinks to the back line, pops the ultimate, forces Zero's further back. Connor now forced to go in on emilitoo, but can't find a kill as they all disperse around him. Win fight through space and time. I even forgot the ultimate just like Fusey did then as he's going to fall down. Eragon will get the kill on iceice, but that could be the beginning of the end here. Cold Llamas charging in for the Titan, and they should be taking this one down 2-0.
Oh, they're doing their best to actually save this one off. They pull them out of the base as of right now. Agent's low, but that's going to be 3 kills picked up. Cold Llamas are maybe biting off more than they can chew.
Crush,
Freiday's coming out big.
And that's going to help out so much. Freiday surviving in the back. I was just calling it a game. I knew that was going to be over there. And just a little bit too much overextension against 3 waves of fire minions. All they had to do was just be patient. But, well, the patience cost them.
They had one lineup of abilities that could have happened in like a specific order to get those kills, and they managed to hit it. Is it going to turn this game completely around in their favor? Maybe not, but it at least keeps them in this. It gets Fire Giant completely off the board. It's going to respawn in a minute 30, but you can now set up. You can see Zearoe running over for it. Get the Oni Fury to help combat some of these fire minions, help your waves push up a little bit, and try to find yourself on board and potentially in position with vision and, of course, ultimates as they recharge up over against that Fire Giant, because if I'm Cold Llamas, I'm a little more hesitant. But you have to be careful. You need some wards around base as well.
So that was one fight win for Equinox there. Cool. Yeah. How many more do they really need to get themselves back into this game? 3, 4, 5?
It's not, maybe not that high.
Okay.
One really good one around Fire Giant. Like at that level, if they can wipe everyone, game's over. You just run towards mid. But it has to be at the middle of the map. Otherwise, you're looking at potentially 2. There's just all 3 tier 2s are up. You can't really risk running down solo lane because there's still a tier 1 hanging out over there. And then you have to burn through a Phoenix. If you can win around Fire Giant, you can win this game. Otherwise, you're going to have to win and then another. Maybe just like 1.5 as people respawn, but it's a lot of work for them, and it's a very slim chance. They have to have everything go exactly as it just did in the base without the help of the Titan.
Well, for 20 seconds time until the Fire Giant spawns, give or take, at least with this Oni Fury wave coming up through mid, left, and right, they're buying some time against these fire minions. Right-hand Phoenix will respawn first, and Equinox has to get those up first of all to really stand a chance of contesting the FG. emilitoo, though, dunked on, hit, and destroyed by Agent, and now the next up could be StreakUp. Wow. StreakUp will at least get the kill onto Agent in response. Big heavy dive from Equinox for the kill onto emilitoo. And now on the front side, they need to help out Zearoe and doing just that. Freiday's very low though, and Freiday's on the run with the Hammer Monster, but the damage out from Genex is just too much. He'll go down to Connor in trade as maniaK will take his life in response. StreakUp though, boxing against 2. The walls hit both, and the clap is good. It's Eragon left.
Ignore him.
And at this point in time, if they just chase him through the jungle, the fire minions will do the work for them.
I like what maniaK and StreakUp are doing, though. It's just, okay, iceice, go do the thing we sent you to do earlier. Chase him around the jungle, stop him from going back. We're going to take this now massive fire wave we have behind us, take that right Phoenix one more time, and now we're rushing the Titan down for potentially the last time.
A good response at Equinox towards the end there. A tough opposition for them in this semi-final matchup. But I'm not too surprised, even though we saw Llamas not do so well last week, to see the Cold Llamas make their way into the finals today.
It's not surprising to see them push forward, especially, again, we mentioned how stacked that roster is. I'm more surprised Equinox did so well with so much stacked against them at the end there. I mean, just that one fight, again, is really exemplary of why they are here, why they are now going to be making maybe some waves in the group stage in a couple of weeks, because being able to put up a fight like that against the members of Cold Llamas, that was huge. And granted, again, everything felt like it was against you. Agent didn't have a lot going for him. It realistically was those full builds that they had. but it was so clean. It's so many good moments from Equinox. I'm excited to see him again.
And I will say, I think what Equinox did there, the devs were breaking it down about the picks and bans. The picks and bans were really good for Equinox.
Yeah.
And it showed that as this game went on, those gods that they selected, or goddesses I should say too, are very effective in the later stages of the game. Scylla made some big-time plays once she hit that later levels in the game. Her positioning got better as time went on. But it was all the early game where Llamas really found this game.
And it was just such a huge lead to overcome. And that's kind of that. If you get a fight like they had defending the Titan the first time, but you still have all 3 of your Phoenixes, all of a sudden you're in the lead and you're able to go get Fire Giant. It's just when it happened, it always felt like they were just a step behind if you're Equinox. And that feels like it started in game 1 anyway. The thing that made me happiest, though, maybe the mid lane switch, the Merlin, almost non-existent in game 1 to iFreiday being such a huge impact in game 2.
Still struggled though in that laning phase again, right?
Yeah, so rough.
Is that something that he just needs to play a little bit more passive, be more recognition of what's going on? Or do we want to see like Equinox maybe in the future look to give him some more support there?
I think more support there, because I think he was playing it fine. I think it came down to where Agent was and wasn't hitting stuns and setup. I mean, there was a lot of Thor kerfluffles earlier where it's just like, man, that ult was maybe 5 feet too far, or you got juked out. In a lot of these scenarios, he went too deep. I mean, there was a period he was 0-6. He ended the game at 2-9 on Thor. So if he was able to apply a little bit more for that mid lane, maybe it's a different story again early on. But by the time he was able to start hitting things, there was such a lead on one side for Cold Llamas that they just couldn't chip it down.
Well, after the break, we'll find out if Cold Llamas can win this second week of play. The finals will be up after this.